I'd like to have your attention. We're going to go ahead and get started on our final presentation before lunch. So, this presentation is The Odd Couple, a model for a successful public-private partnership to reduce the incidence of elder financial abuse. We have Alison Martin, the Assistant Commonwealth Attorney with Henrico County, and Jahiem Dickerson, Director of Corporate Responsibility with Prime.
So hello everyone, I'm Jahiem Dickerson, the Director of Corporate Social Responsibility at Premise Bank, and this is...
Hi, I'm Alison Martin with the Commonwealth Attorney's Office for the County of Henrico. Thank you all so much for everything that you do for the population who I think we're all seeking to mutually help.
And we are excited to show you our presentation on elder financial abuse prevention, and then explain to you the history of this partnership and how it came to be. We decided to focus our presentation not only on seniors, but also on caretakers. Even though caretakers commit some financial abuse, most family members are determined to protect their loved ones from predators and scam artists. So, right here, so elder financial exploitation is the illegal or improper use of an older adult's funds, property, or assets. And according to the U.S. Department of Justice, elder abuse affects 10% or more of older adults each year, and millions of older adults have lost over $3 billion to financial fraud since by 2019. So why is this such a serious issue? Well, here's some of the statistics. 2.6 million persons 65 or older have been victims of identity theft. Over 13% of older Americans are victims yearly. Only 1 in 44 cases of financial abuse is ever reported. And seniors with cognitive incapacity suffer the greatest economic loss. So why are older adults targets? Well, for one thing right now, that's where the money is. And usually if they're retired, they're at home and easily accessible. Those older adults with memory issues, that makes them a more attractive target. And this group is growing every day. By 2030, it's predicted that 20% of the population will be 65 or older. So some of the signs, and I think we reviewed some of these, I went too far. No? Oh, somehow this reversed. So some of the signs of financial abuse can be unpaid bills, junk mail, bank withdrawals, unusual credit card charges. You can see some personality changes, the demeanor, and you may see some questionable hygiene. They may be looking unkempt because they're not being cared for. They're missing valuables. You may see some new friends or hear new names, and you'll see new names on accounts. The phone will ring a lot. The signs of financial abuse can also be someone's isolated, and when they meet with professionals, they don't speak, but let their caretaker speak for them. Debt collectors are around. There's some strange charges on their medical bills, and their home can be in disrepair. So let me go back. So I'm sorry about that. And why are fraud and age seem to go hand in hand in this situation? Sorry. I apologize. I've gotten a little goofed up here. So, well, fraud, this age group is less likely to report losing money, but have higher median losses. They're more likely than younger people to send money to scam artists, and they also are very susceptible to romance, business, and investment scams. Sweepstakes scams account for the highest losses for those 80 or more, and they're very susceptible to phishing, which is when you see those pop-ups or those emails that look like they come from reputable companies, but instead are fraudulent, and this demographic is more likely to click on something and give up their passwords or credit card numbers or their social security numbers. So now Alison is going to discuss some of the common scams that help them to financial
Awesome, Vice President. So I'd like to start today by telling you all a story. I'm going to tell you a story about 78-year-old Mary. Mary is a fantastic person. She was a professor at VCU for about 50 years. She lives in a home with her daughter and her son-in-law and their 3 sons. She's the primary caretaker for these 3 sons so that the parents can work outside of the home. About 3 weeks ago, Mary was working with her youngest grandson, who is 7 years old, to help him download pictures of Harry Potter. During the course of the downloads, a pop-up appears on the computer instructing Mary to call a number that her computer has been hacked. Mary, again, someone who is a professor of anatomy and physiology for a long period of time, picks up the phone and calls the number on the pop-up. She's about to hand over her credit card information when her second youngest grandson steps in, realizes what's happening because of the education he's had in elementary school on phishing. The grandson says, "I don't believe you are who you say you are," and then hangs up the phone. I tell you that story because Mary's my mom. Mary lives in my home. I care desperately about this work because of what it means to me professionally and what it means to me personally. And I'm here to tell you if that can happen in my house, I guarantee you it's happening all over the nation. Let's talk about some common scams for senior citizens. And we are at the beginning of an absolute tidal wave on this stuff. Now, all of you all who work in this space, especially my law enforcement partners, I see you all out there. You're always at the back of the room. Right here. Oh, you are. Oh, God, it's because I took off my glasses. I took off my glasses. Sheepish.
I sat here just so you could see.
We've got the lottery schemes. We've got the fake charity schemes. We've got investment seminars. And those are schemes that you see all over the place. My favorite one that I had most recently was a manufactured fake charity from the city of Richmond called the Coalition for Alley Cats. And the scheme here was to, in fact, help spay and neuter alley cats in the back alleys of Richmond, Virginia. Please send $50 to a Venmo account. And of course, senior citizens and the folks who are approaching 65 grew up in a different age. When the phone rings, what do? You answer it, right? And so that is something going along hand in hand with mail schemes that we're seeing more and more often. How do you spot a mail scam? A claim that you've been specially selected, a request that you confirm your personal information. You all know how to read a PowerPoint, so I'm not going to read to you. But these are easy ways to spot a mail scam. I actually had a case recently out of the County of Henrico that involved an IRS scam. And again, it was one of those things that if you didn't Venmo $500 to the IRS at this Venmo account, you were going to get arrested. Well, the IRS doesn't tend to arrest people if you don't make a Venmo account payment, but try telling that to a scared 75-year-old. Computer scams. Again, what we have is we have a population that understands generally how computers work, but does not understand how scams and technology can be used against them. My mom, Mary, fell victim to a tech support scam. Thank you, Gil Martin, little small 11-year-old genius who saved the day and hung up the phone. It happens all the time. And it happens for people who are sophisticated consumers, right? My mom wouldn't just hand off her credit card information if someone asked her for it on the street. It's this illusion of official behavior that you see in the context of the internet. Romance scams, we're all familiar with them. Oftentimes these go wildly unreported because these two are embarrassing, right? And we heard about that from our last awesome presenter. People don't want to admit that they've been sort of snookered by somebody else. Viruses and malware certainly come into your computer and then are able to actually see and image your confidential or protected information and false websites. How do you support it? Well, quite literally, you can't make this up, and my example is so perfect, so timely, and so relevant. Tech support calls you pretending to be from a well-known company. In this case, my mom's scammer was, she called him, obviously, but he was working for Microsoft on this pop-up. Pop-up warnings and online ads and listings and search result pages. Spotting romance scams. Oftentimes, these scammers will immediately suggest that you communicate outside of the dating website, ask personal questions, establish a bond, and then the pivot most frequently looks like, and again, those of you all who are working in this space know this, it's going to immediately ask for financial help with an avoidance of meeting in person. Again, all of my law enforcement partners know this, and probably most of my APS partners know this as well. What we're seeing is a lot of these romance scams are actually being run by organized crime as well, out of your jurisdictions, so that they know the conversion on prosecution is going to be extraordinarily low on these. How do you spot a fake website? A fake online store with too good to be true deals. I too would like to have a diamond band for $100. The likelihood of that being real is somewhere between slim and none, and Slim just walked out of town. Fake password login scams, malicious pop-ups, fake customer support websites, fraudulent Medicare. And this is truly so tragic because we have our seniors who have contributed to a system that they now can reasonably expect to benefit from, and there are just like quite literally these bottom feeders who are taking from our folks who are the most in need of assistance. Fake package delivery websites, and these, again, if you have someone who has worked their whole entire career, but finally has a little bit more free time at home, they are obsessed with the mail. I'll tell you what, my father is obsessed with what day I'm going to receive the package that he is sending to his grandchildren. I'm like, you know what, Dad, it might come on Wednesday, it might come on Thursday, things get really nutty, maybe it's next Monday, but you can appreciate how there's increased interest in the mail service. And all my APS, I'm getting a witness all over this room, you all are all nodding your heads. And bogus flight booking websites is another really bright area for this kind of abuse. How do you spot a virus or malware? And this is information that you can take back into the field and take back to your clients. You can advise them that when they see these things, it is entirely possible that it may be time to take your computer and have it checked. If your computer suddenly slows down, if it won't shut down or restart, if it won't let you remove software, if it serves a lot of pop-ups, if it shows ads in places you wouldn't typically expect to see them. New or unexpected toolbars is oftentimes a very good indication that somebody actually has control of your computer. If you're being asked to use a new default search engine or a display of new tabs or websites that you didn't open, oftentimes we first become aware of malware or a virus when you're starting to send out emails that you didn't write. And finally, having battery life run out more quickly. Finally, again, what we can do as a practical skill for the folks who we're working with every day is offer a lot of education around phone scams. Cell phones, which everybody's got like a tiny little computer in their pocket right now, have been a game changer for us who do this work. Because people who came up in the generation, starting with me and then older, were raised that good phone etiquette means that when the phone rings, you always answer it. And what that did not prepare anyone for is the massive and overwhelming number of spam calls that come to a cell phone. Happens all the time. How do you spot an IRS or Treasury scam? Oftentimes what you'll see is tax-related identity theft. That certainly always happens around tax season. Gift card scams are a favorite setup for our scammers of senior citizens, right? I just had a call actually, and this is not all about my mother, but it is all about my mother. One of my mom's friends from Altar Guild in the city of Richmond called me because another friend on Altar Guild had asked her to go pick up a birthday present that she couldn't get by going to the store and buying gift cards. And And she thought that was weird, so she called her friendly prosecutor next door. And I said, you know, why don't you pick up the phone and call and see if she actually needs the gift cards? And lo and behold, it was a scam, right? Refund recalculation scams, stimulus payment scams, we've seen a massive spike in those. Obviously, that was caused by the COVID-19 payments, and then the taxpayer advocate scams. People who will help you get repaid oftentimes are looking to scam. Finally, these are the most tragic ones, and those of you all who are working this space have to have heard of these. An older person will get a frantic call from someone who purports to be a grandchild. Hey, I've been in an accident, or I've gotten a DUI, or I've been arrested for some other crime. Here's what I need. I need money to get out of trouble. And then if we can counsel our seniors around these issues, don't send the money. Call or message the person who supposedly contacted you and call someone else. So many of these crimes would be solved if we actually offered the antiseptic of sunshine, right? But seniors don't want to feel as though they're losing control. Nobody wants to feel like they're losing control. And that feeling, and the feeling of being able to act independently and not lose personal autonomy, is extremely pronounced in our aging population. So these are ways that we can help that kind of crime from happening. How do you spot a telemarketing scam? Well, imposter scams, debt relief and credit repair offers, charity scams, and extended warning scams. The same kind of advice that is good for folks who are getting the family member in need emergency scam applies here too. It is perfectly acceptable to say and to help counsel your clients to say, why don't you put some literature for me in the mail about the alley cat rescue? And then I'll respond to it at my leisure. In-person scams, I'm sure you all are all familiar with these. Candidly, I'm seeing them less now. Why? Because they're so much less efficient than internet scams, right? So if you think about how many people you can potentially hit with your Harry Potter picture downloads versus how time-consuming it is to go door to door and sell things, it makes sense that if you're a scammer, you're probably more interested in doing online stuff if you've got the technology and the criminal organization to do it. So, but these are always going to be with us. Door-to-door sales, every spring in Central Virginia, we see a significant uptick in my personal favorite, which is the we're going to repave your driveway scam. And so they pour half the concrete, and all of a sudden the price quadruples, but you've got hot steaming concrete in your front yard, so what are you going to do, right? So that is a scam that we see played out again and again every year when the weather warms up. Those are usually effectuated by less organized, less effective bad guys. But these are in-person scams you'll always see. Again, how do you spot an in-person scam? These are techniques that everyone who has done this both on the APS and the law enforcement side is going to be familiar with. High pressure, urgency, concerns and issues. Oh, I've now got 2 tons of steaming concrete in my front yard are ignored, and requests or requirements for payment. How do you protect yourself? Again, in terms of education that we can provide around these issues, these are things that we can really do that make a difference. And again, this is where the personal touch that is provided by community policing and by effective work with APS makes a difference. Now, I'm going to hand this back over to my colleague, and we're going to talk about other ways that community partners can work hand in hand with law enforcement and prosecutors' offices to effect better outcomes for those who we seek to serve.
Okay, you're not alone in this. So bankers are there. I remember my mother clicked on something and she didn't trust me to tell her that everything was okay. I put her in the car. I drove her to her local branch, and the banker sat down with her, went through it, and really reassured her. So take advantage of your bankers. They're here to help. They'll review your financial transactions, and they have extensive training in both the Bank Secrecy Act and fraud. They can help with stop payments on checks and money wires, and can report suspicious activity. Law enforcement's there to help you. They can help file a report. They can help investigate claims. The courts are here to always help get restraining orders and will prosecute offenders. Credit bureau is a great place to start. They can place a fraud alert on your account. Cellular providers, they can change your phone number if you're starting to get a lot of phone calls. Credit card companies will instantly freeze or cancel your cards. I had my account, actually my debit card. It wasn't my debit card, it was my deceased husband's debit card, I should say. Suddenly a charge popped up buying shirts. I knew he had not purchased these shirts, obviously. So I called in, I realized I'd never stopped his debit card, so they were able to deactivate all the debit cards attached to the account. Adult Protective Services, they report suspected abuse, and legal counsel, of course, can help with getting money or property returned. So now I'd like to talk with you about the history of this partnership and how public and private came to be. The first thing I want to talk about is my role. I have a different role that y'all may not have heard of. I'm the Director of Corporate Social Responsibility at Primis Bank. Do y'all know what corporate social responsibility is? Most people don't. So corporate social responsibility, or CSR, is a business model where companies integrate social and environmental concerns in their business operations and interactions with their customers and employees. So what the trend is right now in business is that people don't want to do business, nor do they want to work for companies that don't mirror their own values. So customers don't want to buy goods from a company if they suspect that child labor has been used to produce those goods. An employee may not want to work for a company who is not following environmental standards. So these are things that we know now customers and employees are concerned about. So what we're doing at Primis Bank with our CSR initiative is we're actually embracing the social concerns and needs of our leadership, our customers, and employees. And a little bit of a twist, we're driving initiatives in the community not only to support the Primis story, but also to be the visualization of the Primis values. So what we're doing at Primis Bank is a little differently. What this initiative is we're creating our own initiatives in the community, and along with supporting initiatives that fall in our focus areas. So our focus areas are currently empowering women and girls, advancing STEM opportunities for women and minorities, and sharpening minds for all generations, which is what this initiative falls under. So now the other person who we worked with was Shannon Taylor, who's the Commonwealth Attorney of Henrico County. She has been with Henrico County since 2012. She works in the Circuit Court, General District Court, and Juvenile Courts, and her focus is the safety of the Henrico County community. So a banker and a lawyer walk into an event, which sounds like the beginning of a bad joke. Allison came up with this one.
I'll be here at the ha-ha-ha all week.
And so that is true. Shannon and I were walking into an event for the Virginia Museum. We were making jokes, a little bit of chit-chat, and she asked what I did, I asked what she did, and she immediately turned to me and said, "We need to talk." So we connected by email later on that week, and she said, "I want to do something around elder financial abuse prevention." And I was like, "Let me check." That dovetails perfectly with our focus area of sharpening minds for all generations. And that's where she connected me to Allison, and we began developing this initiative. So this is Alison Martin. Do you want to tell a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Obviously, you all can see that I'm really passionate about this work, and I'm also equally passionate about work in child abuse. That's all informed by really wanting to step in and help our most vulnerable victims and help those who don't have a voice to speak for themselves. I think all of you all who are doing this work know that we have quite literally a tidal wave of these cases coming. Our population is aging. And the people who are engaged in this fraudulent work just want to do it more and more. So we really need to get out ahead of it at this point.
So wrapping our seniors up with love, what does this mean? Well, this is the name of our initiative. We determined that we need to put together our program components, which is going to create materials. We want to create high quality materials like this slide deck. And also to create some pamphlets. We're looking to create some more products. We want to identify the right personnel to do the in-person presentations. We wanted to identify the right community groups to work with, community centers, bank branches, organizations that serve seniors. We also want to make sure that we go into diverse communities and make a point of reaching out to everyone. We need to establish and execute the objectives, and we need to also determine a way to gather feedback and make sure that we've accomplished our goals. So this program, we decided, is designed for seniors and people who love seniors. When we were brainstorming ideas, I was reviewing our notes afterwards, our brainstorming sessions, and Alison had said at one point, we need to wrap our seniors with love. And I came back and I said, that's it, that's our theme, that's where we're going to go with this. And Alison agreed that what she said was pure genius. And that gave us a great launching pad to organize this presentation. We really wanted to design this not only for seniors, but for those who care about seniors. I want to talk about what our objectives are, what my objectives. So I had to come up with an objective for sharpening minds for all generations, where I was aiming with this. And so, what I developed was to develop a combination initiatives of supporting established efforts in the community, but also to develop our own program to be showcased with community partners. So this was definitely meeting that objective. We also want to establish a goal of people served, establish to incorporate volunteerism. Volunteerism is very important at Premise Bank. And we also want to establish the hard and soft cost of this initiative. So how do we measure success? We want to make sure that we reach our target stakeholders. We want to determine the number of organizations that we have provided this information to, and also determine the percentage of underserved participants. We need to gather feedback from internal and external stakeholders, and we have to remember CASA, which is knowledge, attitude, skills, and aspiration. Does our audience feel that they are smarter and more confident after they've attended one of our programs? Do they feel that this is time well spent? So we worked on the program mechanics, and we determined the who. For us, it would be Allison and me. We would like to work with Henrico County Police Department, Premise Bank employees, and of course Shannon Taylor, who came up with this idea. Where will we be meeting? We'll be going wherever Premise Bank has a footprint. So we do need to keep in mind that Henrico County Police Department can't leave jurisdiction, so we are hoping to partner with other police departments throughout the footprint, Central Virginia. And we also want to have some flexibility in our programming, in that sometimes I recently received a call from someone, they wanted us to have more information about guardianships. So we'll be flexible and can tweak our presentation as needed. I didn't tell you that part. That's great. And then we're getting called now for this summer 2023. So hopefully that we will be able to take this on the road and meet with the community and really try to get out there and connect. And last but not least, is this available in my jurisdiction? The short answer is yes. We're happy to come out to your area. If you want us to come, you just have to go to premisbank.com/community and click on the button that says Learn More, and that will pop up a form to fill out. You fill it out, and we will work to get this on our calendar. So thank you very much. And if you've got questions, we've got answers.
Yes, sir.
For a lot of our seniors, their mental capacity starts to wane, but they're not incompetent. They're just more vulnerable. Are you hearing any word from the banks about whether or not they're thinking about developing products for people specific to that where they can maintain their freedom, minimize their risk or limit their risk?
We are. So I think a lot of banks are very, very much starting to consider this. I know, for example, I'll let Diane take the specific question as to what her banking institution is doing. But I think that's the whole point of increasing the education, not only for someone whose capacity may be reduced, but also for those who are surrounding that person to make sure that we have appropriate people who they feel as though they can talk to who are safeguarding that with care. But Diane can talk to that. I know that the banking organization nationally has been very interested in rolling out products that we also are seeing rolled out for teenagers. For example, Green Light for teenagers is very effective, and I think we're seeing similar products come out for our seniors at this point.
So yeah, FinCEN has made some recommendations to banks, and I've seen some of them take part. And we are actually at Premise trying to develop a program that is basically, I think, inspired by what we're doing here after we presented it to the leadership of the bank. So we are seeing some things. Some of the recommendations are like having a third party approve transactions. So hopefully I'll have more next time.
That would be great. I think it'd be incredible.
Yeah, but something that, and also I'm hoping I've actually talked to them, said I'd love to have that for incapacitated adults also. Any other questions?
I would say I've had a case similar to kind of the dynamic he's talking about, and I made the suggestion to the father who had financial power of attorney over his mother. She was very frustrated that her independence was gone. So I suggested to him to buy her gift card that had a minimal amount of money. Then she can go out and she can spend that, and she feels independent still, but it's got a ceiling on how much she can lose, essentially.
That's right.
That worked out well.
That's a great suggestion. And I know, again, with my teenager, the Green Light card, which the parent can actually control, again, that may be a really effective tool. And I cannot believe that we do not have more of that in the marketplace, and I suspect that we'll see organizations start to roll things similar to that out. Yes, sir.
I'd also add, having a bank that supports automatic bill payments. And I know they already do it, but I'm saying ones that actually encourage and work with the client and set it up. Also helps a lot of our seniors who are not being financially exploited, but who self-neglect and then fail to pay their utility bills, so their electricity gets cut off, their water gets cut off. And if they can maintain those utilities longer, they can stay in their home for longer. So I think that would be a nice thing to do too.
That's a great suggestion. Thanks, guys. Enjoy your lunch. I think we're the only thing standing between you and a
Thank you